Let's line up. Okay. Welcome to A Word of Torah. I'm Rod Bryant, along with my amazing, lovely friend, Moshe Abrams. We've had
Hi.
a great time in our studies the last few weeks, and you had an amazing event take place.
Yeah.
Married. You've got a
Yeah, I got
beautiful
married.
bride.
Yeah.
Wow. She still thinks you're really rich then, I guess. So
Baruch Hashem.
you are wealthy. You're a wealthy man of great wealth and wisdom. But I'm really happy for you. I hope you're getting
Thank you.
settled. And
Yeah.
let's get right into the class. How about we have some rules that we're going to set for each individual that watches the class. Let's remind them again of what those rules are.
Oh, yeah. I think that the rules are something which has kind of emerged from being a primary school teacher or an elementary school teacher.
Yeah.
And to start with, I was teaching adults without these rules, and I realized they're pretty integral to learning. So the first one is no being mean to yourself. Now that sounds like I'm just being nice, but actually being mean to yourself really gets in the way of the learning. You kind of spend so much time thinking, oh, I can't do this. You're not actually thinking about what you're supposed to be learning. It's an obstacle. The other one is you have to have a go. So this more works when with us here in the room. If I say, hey, Rod, what do you think this is? Even if you don't know, you have a go, because A, you might be right. You might surprise yourself. And B, if you tell us what you think, then I can use that to get to what the answer is and make the connection. Why was it that you thought? Oh, because this letter is like this letter, or this word is like this word, so that it reveals what the connections are that's going on. And the other thing is you don't have to remember everything. So all of these classes, there's always more than you can memorize. You can re-watch the videos if you want to kind of get more in there, but don't expect to walk away having absorbed absolutely everything, because you're making new connections in your brain. And that takes time, that takes repetition, that takes, revisiting the same information. And the last one is trust the teacher, because I'll get you there. It's not my first rodeo.
No, you're doing a great job, by the way.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, it helps to have the amazing subject matter that we have here, because it's so rich, not just for the kind of language and the grammar, but the story is so interesting that it really kind of carries us through, doesn't it?
Yes.
This here is one of my favorite verses in the book of Bereshit. This is one of our kind of occasional controversial ones where we may disagree, or we may get into some sort of a squabble about what means what. And I love the squabble, because that's where you kind of go, why do I think what I think, and why does that person think what they think?
Right.
Are we taking ideas for granted about? So you and I are going to have a debate about all the possibilities of this first sentence.
Okay, let's do it.
So to start with, we have v'yomer. This is the most common word in Bereshit.
Mm-hmm.
You start off with this word amar, which means to say.
Mm-hmm.
And when you put what I make into green letters, if you put a green letter in front of it, it tells you the gender or of who's doing it. Mm-hmm. And also it says they will do it. So yod is masculine, so ya'amer is he will say. And then you put a tense flipping vav on there. V'yomer means he said. But that comes up all the time. There's a lot of God speaking, and then soon a lot of people speaking. V'yomer, the verb, and then we have who's doing the verb. So v'yomer Elohim means God said. Now, here comes the squiffy bit. If you have a yod, it means he did it. If you have a taf, it means she did it, right? There's all these different letters that tell you who did it. But what we have here is a nun.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the nun has got all these prefixes, suffixes. They can often do two jobs, right? So like a taf can be she will do it or you will do it. But the nun has two. The nun means it's either a passive, which is something we're going to talk about another day. It's like the difference between the boy cut down the tree or the tree was cut down.
Right.
Because in the tree was cut down, we're focusing on the tree, not who did the cutting.
Correct.
The other thing is, if I turn it green, which I'll do here now, then it starts telling you who is doing the verb. And the verb asa is the general dog's body word for to make or do.
To do.
Right? So the question is, if it's na aseh, that means we will do.
Mm-hmm.
Or we will make. Okay, now that's not so controversial, right? It's not yet so controversial, right? Apart from the fact that we've only encountered God so far. We haven't encountered anyone else. So you can see where we're heading with this.
I know. It's scary,
right?
Because some people will take it wrong.
Well, that's it. There's so many different interpretations.
Right.
But I'm going to make the argument that there's only one really valid one, which is an arrogant thing for me to do, but that's my job,
Yes.
right?
Of course.
So
That's why you trust the teacher. Okay, go ahead.
right. And by the way, I'm going to make my case for my position. That doesn't mean anyone has to hold it. People are entitled to hold their own positions, but I'm going to show you why I think what I think.
Good.
And that's really inviting you to dig down for yourself. So this actually, by the way, this phrase comes up in another part of the Bible, very famous moment in the Bible when the Torah is given at Sinai, and the Klal Yisrael, the entire Jewish people, says, Na'aseh v'nishma, we will do and we will perceive, we will understand.
Right.
So they notice the discussion is about how Na'aseh, we will do, happens first. Here's the first instance of that word. Na'aseh, we will do, we will make. So what has God said? V'yomer Elohim, God said, Na'aseh Adam, we will make Adam, B'Tselmenu. Okay. So many people listening in are so familiar with the Bible because they've read it in English so many times, they already know what I'm going to say. But Tselem here is an image. Like Tzal is a shadow, and a shadow is a kind of image. It's a very simple image of your body, but Tselem is an image, right? The bet as a prefix means in or with. That's because bet is the word for a house.
Right.
So a house is only useful if you can go in it. So as a prefix, bet means in or with. So in image, and Enu, inu, anu, as a suffix means us or ours. So Elohim is God. Eloheinu is our God, right? Avinu is our Father. Malkeinu is our King. So all this enu, inu, anu endings, they all mean ours, right?
Right.
So, B'Tselmenu, in our image. The question is, who's the our, right? Who's the we that has our image? So, when we look at the whole thing, we say, V'yom Elohim na'aseh Adam b'tzelmenu. We will make Adam in our image. And the question is, who's we? So, there are those from other religions that say it's talking to another aspect of God. God's talking to itself. Like the Queen of blessed memory used to say,
we.
The royal we. Now, of course, the King of England says the royal we, I'm sure. I haven't.
Yes, he does. I've heard him say that. Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. Yes. But that runs counter to the way God describes itself in the Bible again and again and again as I am one, there is no other. Is there any God like me? I know of none. You know, I share my glory with no other. It seems like a contradiction. What's the other thing that people say that this is? Who could God be speaking to?
In another religion?
No, within Bible believing religious people.
We've heard angelic host.
Absolutely, this is a great position because it's within the host of heaven. But there's two problems. One is no angels have been mentioned yet. God's talking about forming the universe at the time. He hasn't mentioned angels, so we don't know if angels exist or not yet.
And Hashem doesn't have an image.
Well, that's the other bit about angels.
Right, exactly.
Are they in the image of God?
Right.
So when we say image, later we find out, of course it says here, creating Adam, B'Tselmenu, in our image. So that probably doesn't mean like a JPEG, right?
Right.
We're not talking about a GIF or something. It's not, I've got a long, narrow nose and ginger beard. God must have a long, narrow. It must be a different concept.
Absolutely.
So we're actually going to see this image, what this image refers to, and it's a concept. It's a concept of free will, the knowledge of good and evil, the creativity. This is going to emerge as Adam develops, right? So we'll see that kind of hinted to. But this says B'Tselmenu, so we need to find who else has the image of God, right? So angels, I don't think angels have free will, creativity, and the independence to go, to tell the difference between right and wrong. They're on rails. They do exactly what they're told. They're just the will of God. Who definitely has the image of God?
Who?
Yeah. Can you name anyone that definitely is described as having the image of God?
What? Man, Adam, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the only entity we ever hear as being described as having the image of God. We never hear about angels. We never hear about any other deities. We specifically hear other deities are not allowed. They don't exist.
And it's interesting, when angels do appear, they appear in the image of man.
Right, not in the image of God, but in something that we recognize, right? Oh, we are in the image of God.
Good. That's good.
They're a stage down.
You're nailing it.
So who's we in Naaseh? There's only one that it can be, and that is Adam. God is saying, God and Adam will make Adam. Right? That's the shift.
Okay, so say this again. So I want you to repeat this. So you're saying that
because only God and Adam have the image of God, when God says we will make Adam in our image, our refers to God and Adam. So we must also refer to God and Adam. What effectively he's saying is God is going to do the heavy lifting. Imagine you're a little kid and your dad says, let's go fix your bike.
Yes, I see it. I just never heard of it this way.
Your dad doesn't need your help when he fixes the bike.
No.
He's involving you in the process for your benefit. So he brings you out. He says, this is the spanner, goes on here, twist it this way, and you do it. And you're together, you are becoming in the image of your father. He's teaching you how to be like him.
That's really interesting. What this means,
that means we have responsibility to be more like God. Mm-hmm. If we are helping us, you can't just say, well, you didn't make me good enough. No. You've got responsibility. You know the difference between right and wrong. You've got to act right. You've got to elevate yourself to the image of God. So this is a process. So it says here, let's go a little bit further. V'yomer Elohim, God said, Na'aseh Adam b'tzelmeinu, we will make Adam in our image, namely the shared image. Kidmutenu. Now this is a slightly different thing, right? Because in the first one it says in our image. This one is the kaf here is it's short for kamo, which means like or similar to. Demut is another word for an image, and enu is our image. So this is in our image, like our likeness. Okay, so it's like saying it's not a perfect. We're not going to be God. We're going to emulate God, the way a painting emulates the sitter. You know, the way a doll emulates a baby. That's what we're talking about here. And it goes on to say, V'yirdu bigdat hayam. Now, this is a weird place to start because yarad, this verb here, that is to descend upon, like to go down. We actually see God, yarad, in the story of Bavel. Mm-hmm. When God goes down to see what Bavel's up to. Of course, he already knows, but he's going down in dramatic effect, right? So this is to go down. And the u here is plural, just like pru urvu umilu et haaretz. Pru means to be to be fruitful, but when talking to plural. So he's saying mankind, plural, will descend, will go down, will dominate. Big dat. A dag is a fish. Right. So this is with the fish. This taf is an of taf. That's why I've changed it to purple. So with the fish of hayam, the yam is the sea. Mm-hmm. So we're going to be like God in that we dominate the fish. You know but it's okay. We're not stopping there. It also says uva oaf hashemayim. Oaf is to fly. Your faith is to fly. So the oaf is the flying things. And with the flying things, Hashemayim of the heaven. Uva Behema. Now, we have a mutual friend who's in my Sunday class who is both a cattle farmer and a sign language expert. Yes. So whenever we say Behema, she does this.
Right.
That's the sign language for Behema. So it's it's where we get the word in English, a behemoth. It's a big land mammal, right? So we're going to dominate the fish, the flying things of heaven, the big land animals, uvakol haaretz, and all the earth, uvakol haremes, all the crawly things. This is the sign language from our mutual friend of the crawly things. Haromes al haaretz, that romes, that crawl, that creep on the earth. So we're going to dominate all this. So what's this got to do with the image of God? We're middle management. Right. The earth isn't ours. We didn't create it, but we're helping run it. Correct. We're going to manage it. We're going to keep the fish in line, make sure they don't have some fishy revolution. And we're going to do animal husbandry. We're going to do the kind of practice of keeping things running fine. We do have that relationship with the earth. Yes. People think if that nature is natural and we are chaos, but actually nature is pretty chaotic and terrifying. And when we develop a relationship with the growing of things, we garden the whole earth. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's one of our functions. Right. So isn't that fun? That is really beautiful. It means as well, if we emulate God, we are participating in the process of making ourselves in God's image, right?
I do believe. I'm sorry. Go ahead. No. Go ahead.
But the opposite is true as well. If we reject the image of God, if we reject the principles of God, we are making ourselves, we're destroying our own image.
Mm-hmm.
We're destroying the connection between our image and God's image. So we do have a certain amount of responsibility. We can't just say, well, it's your job. You made me in your image and I'm rubbish. No. One,
Yeah.
you're not allowed to say you're rubbish because that's besmirching the image of God. And two, you're not allowed to be rubbish. You've got to be the best you can be.
Right. So I have had some very difficult times where I've said, okay, you made me. What's the problem here? Okay. If you don't show me how to fix this, some of this responsibility belongs to you. Okay. I'm just saying.
But I think there's something very valuable in that as well, because it's not all on you, because God is participating in the process, and it's not all on him, because you've got to participate. So it's about being in partnership, which is better. Because if you said it was all God's responsibility, then you're alone. If you say it's all your responsibility, then you're alone. But if it's a partnership about developing you, I need help. I'm in trouble. I'm really struggling right now. I keep on doing this thing that I know I don't want to do. I want to break that habit and stop doing that thing. I want to do this thing over here, which is holy, and it's really hard.
Right.
So, influence me, give me the right inspiration, open me up to the right ideas, and connect with God. Absolutely, you should ask for help.
Yes, absolutely. And so the real Mashiach energy that is happening in our time right now is that people, including Jews and the righteous of the nations, and tzaddikim of the nations, that are starting to realize, no, we are partners. And we all have this different responsibility to find out if I'm in a partner, if he created me in his image or for the purpose of maintaining creation, then what am I doing? Like, I need to get busy. That's why we bring in Mashiach in the world, by taking responsibility for what we've been put in here in the first place. This is an incredible, insightful verse. And I really appreciate you bringing it up. We are still have 14 minutes left, so we can keep going. You ready?
Yeah. Should we do a little bit more?
Yeah, sure.
So it's interesting as well what you said about the Mashiach. There's one theory that the Mashiach is an individual who is dependent on the generation making the conditions right for the Mashiach. Correct. And there's another theory that the Mashiach is our generation. Correct. Things come about when we all get our heads on right and stop messing around with all the nonsense that's got nothing to do with what life is for, So, and then it says, so this is continuing on from the previous verse. I love this verb as well. This is the first verb you see in the whole Torah. Mm-hmm. The Torah begins, Bereshit, in the beginning, bara, created, Elohim, God created, et hashemayim et haaretz. And this is that word, bara, bet, resh, aleph, right? But in this form, instead of being the bara, the past tense, third person masculine or neutral, pa'al, this is a future tense with the green yod saying he or it will do it, and then flipped into the past. So it's a future tense flipped into the past.
Right.
That's a whole thing. Right. Anyway, this is the same word. V'yivra means and he created. So notice how all the other times it's about forming, it's about taking this from that. Humanity is bara. Humanity is created. V'yivra Elohim, God created et ha'adam, right? Created the mankind or the man. Yeah, interesting, isn't it? But it says,
do you see is there a difference between Adam and Ha'adam? Never mind, we won't get into that. That's
Adam is the word for this guy. It's not his name. But it's also the name for mankind. Adam is mankind, and it's not clear how specific we're talking about here, right? But Ha'adam seems like the definitive article, right?
Right.
The man, beautiful. But this time it says B'Tselmo. B'Tselmo. The last time it said B'Tselmenu, in our image. But this is B'Tselmo. And when you put, oh dear, I slipped. When you put a vav at the end of a verb like this, at the end of a noun, with a little yarmulke on it, this is we call this a deacon's vav. This is because deacon said, oh, that's very clever. That looks like a little bloke. There's a little bloke here. There's his nose. There's this little yarmulke, right? So this means his. When you have an o vav at the end, B'Tselmo, that means his image. So the first time it said B'Tselmenu, our image. The second time it says B'Tselmo. Why is it B'Tselmo? Yeah, why is it his image? Because a minute ago we said in our image.
Correct.
The reason is it's already God's image, but it's not yet Adam's image.
Right. Okay. I'm following.
Making Adam in the image of God is a process.
Right.
The first step is making him in God's image, but it's only when Adam's image is finished that it becomes a shared image, right? By which I mean, I'm making your image out of clay. I start going, oh, there's the nose, and that's where the eye sockets are. I'm going to make some eyes and put some eyelids on. But at the moment, I'm working on making it in your image. But it's only a shared image when it starts looking like you. Right. Then you can say we look the same. So right now, Adam's in the early stages. He's making him in the image of God, but it's not finished yet. There's more to happen before it's shared. It says B'Tselem Elohim. So there's 3 levels. There's B'Tsel Menu, B'Tsel Mo, and B'Tselem Elohim. In our image, in his image, and the image of God. It says B'Tselem in the image, Elohim of God, Bara Oto, singular, masculine, right? But bear with me. Here comes the shocker. So, Oto is a passive pronoun. We don't have passive pronouns in English. We just say I. I can say I kicked you or you kicked me. In a way, that's a passive. If you kick me, you're being active. I'm being passive, right? So if I do something to you, ani ose mashu to you. But if you do something to me, you do something ot, not ani. Right, so ani when I'm active and ot when I'm passive. You do something to me, it's ot, right? So this is oto. If he does something, it's the word who means
who, oto.
If something's done to him, it's oto. You're doing something oto. That's the passive one, right? So, B'Tselem Elohim bara oto. In the image of God, he created him. 1. Singular. Masculine, which in Hebrew is neutral. It can be masculine or it can be masculine.
Male or female, right.
Absolutely. But then it goes on to say, Zakar unkeva bara otam. Oto is him, passive. But otam is them, passive. Hem is them active and otam is them passive. So what's happening? In one sentence, God has described, or the Torah has described, Adam as him, singular, and them, plural. So what does Zakar mean? Zakar means male. That's why I've given it this classically male color. We don't get sexist about things.
Yes.
So Zakar is male and Nekeva is female. So in the image of God, he created him, male and female, he created them. Which is it? Has he created him in the image of God, or has he created them, male and female?
Both. He created him, male and female.
Right. Because when God is ready, he cuts Adam into 2 pieces and makes one into the man and one into the female. Now, have we seen this anywhere in creation before? What about light? God makes light and he says it's good. And after that, he divides it.
He divided into light and darkness, right?
Exactly. And this is
but it's later he makes moon, sun, and stars.
Right.
But he already created light and darkness and separated it with a firmament. Yes.
Exactly. He's introducing the concept of light and then defining it as light and darkness. Here, the same thing. He's introducing the concept of Adam and then dividing it into male and female. Right.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
But, and this is tricky, when is it in the image of God? Is it in the image of God when it's male, or when it's both, or when it's divided into male and female? And
now we're going to get into the concept of why it's important to be married.
Right. because which gender makes babies? If you say men, you're not paying attention.
Right. Right.
If you say women, right. But they can't do it on their own. Right. It's only both that can make babies. So if this making babies is the ultimate act of being creative like God is creative. Now, obviously, we can't do it without God. God gives us permission. But he's instilled us with the ability to make these babies. Yes. But only in tandem. Only when you find your other half, you join together and suddenly you have this creative ability that you did not have alone. That's the image of God. God is not a man. God is not a
Right.
woman. Feminists love saying God is a woman. You're like, no.
No, yeah. He's
and
not,
we have
neither is he a man, but he's
right.
right.
It's God is
Right.
not in the image of man. Man is in the image of God.
Yes,
Humanity
yes,
is in
yes,
the image
yes.
of God. And we've got to remember it's that way around, because we kind of say, oh, it's like me, but Superman. No. You are an imitation of God. God is not an imitation of you. God
Right.
came first, right?
Right.
No, and we're not a perfect imitation. We do our best. But here's another thing. So this is in his image, he made Oto, him, which is at the moment containing both male and female, because it hasn't been divided yet. Male and female created in them.
That's incredible.
I want to do one more little bit.
Yeah, we have 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Beautiful. So the first thing God does, this is also really important to understanding why God makes people. Because in all the other acts of creation, he brought something into existence, gave it rules, put it in the world, went, that's good, like that. Put something else, oh, pretty happy with that. That's good, some stuff. They're all interacting, good, like it. The first thing God does after he makes Adam, either him or them, unclear deliberately by the Bible here, it says, Vivarech otam. So the word varech, the root is baruch, which is to bless. So Vivarech otam, normally we say, we have the verb first and then who's doing it. And we do here. But what this is, this otam, this passive pronoun for them, that's a condition of the first thing. So Vivarech otam, that's the whole verb. He blessed them. And then we have Elohim to say God is the one who blessed them. So first of all, the first thing he does, as soon as he has a chance, as soon as he has the first opportunity to bless them, he blesses them. Because he's like that. He's kind, he's giving, he wants to bless you, he wants to bring you goodness, right? But also notice that it's Vivarech otam. He hasn't divided them into male and female yet. But he's still referring to them as them. So it's very unclear because we're in the stage where the physics hasn't been set up yet. It's the same with light. Light was very confusing until the rules were set. Now we have mankind, but the rules haven't been clearly defined yet. So Vivarech otam Elohim, God bless them. V'yomer lehem, again, if it was he said to him, it would be V'yomer lo. Or V'yomer la Adam. It says V'yomer lehem. Hem is them. So he said to them, Elohim, God did, Pru Urvu umilu et haaretz. Now this is one of those ones, because most of the people in our class have read this book 100 times in English, and they know this stuff really, really well. So as soon as I tell you what the first word means, you'll know the whole sentence, right? So the first word here, pru, has a pluralizing u on it, because he's talking to them. He's talking to them plural. So the verb has to be plural. But it comes from the word pri. Now we bless on fruit. Berei pri ha'etz, berei pri ha'adam, or berei. So pri is fruit, but this is an instruction. This isn't the noun fruit. This isn't a fruit. And he said to them, bless them, a pear, or kumquat. No, he says pru, be fruitful. It's an instruction. It says urvu. Often people hear the word rav and they think it means teacher, because a rabbi is a teacher. But the word for teacher in Hebrew is moreh if you're a man, or morah if you're a woman. Rav is an honorific. It means great or many. So in this case, the instruction, urvu, means multiply. So be fruitful and multiply. Or milu, milah is to fill something up. Or milu is y'all should fill. In the classic Texan, y'all should fill up. Et haaretz, the earth. So how is this a blessing? Because as we've seen before, when God says it, it becomes true.
It happens.
He's introducing the laws. So if he makes the law that you will be fruitful, you multiply, and you'll fill up the earth, you will. And this is the last thing I want to force my opinions on you this day. Sorry about this.
Go for it.
But one of the concepts of instructing something and it can't disobey is God says something and it will be true, right? So if God says you will be fruitful, you're going to be fruitful. You're going to multiply. You're going to multiply. If he says you're going to be good and keep these rules, you're going to be good and you're going to keep these rules, and you'll have no choice in it.
And you'll like it.
Right. So you're just a robot. You're just like a fish in the sea that swims because it's a fish, right? But God doesn't want that for us.
Correct.
God is going to give us free will. So God is going to change the rules for us. He's going to introduce a new rule for us that doesn't apply to anything else in creation. And that's when we become in God's image. He gives us something that fish are not in the image of God. Trees are not in the image of God. They're all images made by God, and so are we. But we got this extra little bit. That's going to be the story of the Gan Eden. That's going to be the one that really is going to start some arguments when we get there. You know.
Right. No. And what makes this so incredibly beautiful is when you realize the image that we are to project in this world is the image that God once created or projected into this world, and there are no mistakes. People make mistakes, but God doesn't make created mistakes. So if we've come into this world, we have to realize why we're here, where we're at, what we're doing, and that is the great awakening. Is when we realize who we are, that God created us with an image that reflects Him. Doesn't mean He looks like us. He created us in an image that reflects Him, with compassion, with creativity, with the ability to choose. What a great gift we have. Absolutely. Go ahead, finish up.
There's I had a wonderful discussion once with a Baptist minister, and he was talking about, he said, you guys, meaning Jews,
right.
He said, you guys are crazy about Abraham. Oh, I said, yeah, I love Abraham. I love his story. I love him. I love his character. He's the first person to say please in the Bible, and he says it to his wife. I just think he's just such a guy, you know. And he said, right, but he was a sinner. And I said, no? Like, am I surprised? He goes, yeah, but he did that thing, and he did this thing, and he starts bringing up mistakes Abraham made.
Lovely.
I'm fine with it, you know. I said, listen, every story of every great person in the Bible, man, woman, whatever, they can be called a tzaddik, and they have some great fadika, some great embarrassing moment where they made a mistake. They're all in there. And he said, well, I can think of somebody who didn't make a mistake. And I thought, well, he's not in our book. But
I wouldn't worry about that.
Well, I gave him a couple of examples of that guy breaking rules, like cursing a fruit tree. You're not allowed to destroy a fruit tree. And, picking on the Sabbath and stuff. He goes,
and he was cursing a fruit tree that wasn't supposed to be given fruit. It was out of season.
That's mean. You're not allowed to do that, right? So anyway, my point wasn't to bash his guy. It was to say, look, everyone makes mistakes. Everyone. That's okay. So as a former elementary school teacher, I would say to my kids, you know, it's okay, have a go. But what if I get it wrong? That's fine. It's okay because that's how you learn. That's how you move forward. That's how you make your discoveries. You learn a lot more from a mistake than you if you get it right. Someone who never got anything wrong in their whole life, they start thinking they're perfect, and then a mistake will devastate them. So I 100% agree with you that that people make mistakes, but God didn't make a mistake when He made you. You're exactly who you need to be. So on the one hand, you're exactly who you need to be. And on the other hand, you're on a journey to being someone better.
Right.
And my favorite example of this is Jacob.
Yes. Oh,
you know, his journey is so much struggle and being hoodwinked, and he makes mistakes in the beginning and he becomes a better person. And then when he meets his brother, he's just desperate to make peace. He wants to give everything he owns to make peace. And that's the moment he gets peace without having to give anything away.
Right.
He becomes so elevated over the journey of his struggle. But his father, Yitzhak, is so wonderful from the beginning. He never really makes any mistakes, and he takes up like that much room in the Torah. Whereas Jacob, who's making mistakes everywhere, is half the book of Bereshit.
Right, that's interesting. If you're a tzaddik, this much. If you've made mistakes,
but you make mistakes. Wow, we can learn so much from you.
So the incredible thing about Judaism that has helped to elevate my own conscience and soul is to understand that we don't put things in terms of what is, this is sin, this is not sin. I mean, we'll kind of do that, but it's more like in Judaism, it's about missing the mark. It's about not quite hitting it on target. It's not about the definition. This is why so many things, and we've done it in Judaism, we'll take a phrase that say another religion has now co-opted and perverted it. And we don't want to use it anymore, right? We don't want to use that word anymore, like sin, this, and that, because it's associated
people will misunderstand it.
Right. It's abstract. It's failure. You failed when you said, but in reality, no, I've actually missed the mark. It's just an opportunity to correct and make myself better. I mean, that's all
Absolutely.
this is. What a beautiful thing to learn Torah the first day of the week and to understand the words and get the meaning out of it at the same time. Moshe, I really appreciate you taking the time each week to do this.
Thank you so
And
much for
this
your
has been a
time.
great class. We're going to post it up here, let it be permanent. So we welcome everybody to start sharing this as well. We appreciate it. And we're going to say shalom for now.
Shalom lehitot.
להתראות.